Let's take a look at how to recognize and avoid and protect ourselves from email scams. Now, email scams sometimes involve phishing or fraud. They're all related to each other, and they're related to viruses. And here's how. There's usually only a couple of reasons someone's going to send you a fraudulent email. One is to get money from you directly, to get you to send them money. And there's a number of scams around that. The other is because they want to capture personal information from you that they can in turn compile and sell to get money. And most of the time, a virus is simply a mechanism to get more spam distributed. In other words, spam is used to distribute viruses so the virus can install software to help send more spam. So how do we recognize a fraudulent email? What are some of the signs and symptoms of something you shouldn't respond to? How do you keep yourself safe? And what should you do? Let's take a look. Now, there's some exceptions. If you're in government or you're in a high-risk industry with lots of confidential information, or you work for a spy agency, well, those may not apply. But generally, those are the two intertwined reasons why scam email exists, either to get money or to get personal information, which the spammer or scammer can turn into money. So how do we know about this and what do we do about it? Most of the information that we're talking about right now is provided in some documents from the U.S. CERT, the United States Computer Emergency Readiness Team. It's a U.S. government agency whose entire job it is to try and respond to cyber criminal threats and to educate the public. So feel free to go out to their website and peruse their reading room and lots of their other information. They have a lot of good information out there, much of which is quite readable and quite accessible to the average computer user. They summarize the key steps to keep in mind to identify and avoid being a victim of email fraud as the following. First of all, filter spam, install antivirus software and keep it up to date, and turn on a personal firewall. And if necessary, keep it updated. Those we've seen before. Those aren't new concepts. Now, some specific things in regard to email. Doesn't matter what the source of the email is, don't trust unsolicited email. If you haven't asked for somebody to send you something, you should look on it with great suspicion when they do. Treat all email attachments with caution, especially when it's the kind of attachment that's coming from somewhere you wouldn't expect or is not the kind of attachment that person usually sends you. For example, my wife would not normally send me a zip file purporting to contain financial information. Certainly not if she hadn't mentioned to me that she was going to do that. On the other hand, somebody with whom I have a business relationship would not usually send me a Valentine's card. So keep in mind the source and where it purports to be from, but always act with a little bit of suspicion when someone sends you an unexpected attachment. Be very cautious about links in email. Don't click on them randomly. Don't click on them just because they look like they might be interesting. And lastly, configure your email client for security. Now, there's a bunch of different options that come into play there depending on what your email client is. But for example, you might want to turn off rich formatting in HTML and look at things only in plain text. You might have anti-phishing or anti-email features right in your email client. These are all good tools that you can use to cut down on the amount of exposure you have to phishing scams. But the most important thing to do is read it with an eye to suspicion and be aware that people are out there trying to get your money or trying to get personal information that they can use to turn into money. Be a little bit suspicious and be a lot careful.